Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. We are discussing the chapter Freedom, and under this chapter, we were discussing the right to freedom of expression. And under this freedom of expression, we have discussed first of all the reasons why there should be freedom of expression. And in this regard, we have seen the views of Mill. Mill is a staunch supporter of freedom of expression, and he has given some reasons why we need this freedom, why the society needs this freedom. So, according to him, uh, why we need freedom of expression? Because no idea is 100% false. There is no idea in this world which does not contain any element of truth. So there must be freedom of expression. Then only the element of truth which is present there in any idea can be known. Okay, and the second reason, according to Mill, is the truth is something which does not emerge on its own. We need to make truth emerge, and the truth emerge only through conflict of ideas. If there will be conflict of ideas, then only the truth can emerge. And moreover, the third reason is that if we see that okay, the truth has emerged now the process is not complete at any time. It's an ongoing process. So we cannot contain any expression, because the truth is always in the process of emerging. So it should always be there. And the fourth point, which is the fourth reason which is given by Mill, is that many times it happens that the whole society is not accepting any idea, because according to the situation and circumstances, that idea is considered completely wrong. But in the later years, uh, people come to know that the idea which the whole society was disapproving, the whole society was considering it a wrong idea, now that idea is accepted. So, these are the reasons for which there must be freedom of expression, according to Mill. And this freedom of expression is the most important uh, right of individual in order to develop his or her personality. And in this regard, we have considered the the views of Voltaire. Voltaire he is also a strong supporter of freedom of expression, and for that he is saying that I may not agree with your views, but I will agree to this, that you have the right to express your views. So people may agree with the view, may not agree with the view. The society, the government may agree with my view or may not agree with my view. It is not important कि हमारे view को society माने. It is not important कि हमारे view को government माने. But what is important? I must have freedom to express my views. That is important. आप डिफर करिए, यू हैव द राइट टू डिसअग्री, यू हैव द राइट टू डिफर, बट no one should curtail this right of freedom of expression. Because अगर हमने right to freedom of expression को रोक दिया, then it will stop the growth not only of the individual, but the growth of the whole society will be stopped. We have a very good example if we see from the viewpoint of the whole society. There was used to be a country, USSR. You may be aware of this Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. In this country, there was freedom was not allowed to the people. The society was closed, and we don't have to consider the economic and political aspect, but the complete thing was closed. There was complete lack of freedom, and this USSR, it disintegrated in the year 1991. Why this disintegration took place? Because the country stopped to grow. Stagnation. There was a stagnation in society, there was a stagnation in economy, there was stagnation in politics. So this is the consequence. If you stop freedom, it will harm the whole society. And the same thing was experienced in USSR. So freedom is such a thing that this only give us an environment to grow, जिसमें हम grow करते हैं. सिर्फ हम ही नहीं, हमारी पूरी society grow करती है. I told you in the previous class, in the society of some 25 to 30 years ago, it was not considered good that women should not go outside for work. But still, though it was not considered good, but still women were there who were going outside for work. And now what we find, that it has been accepted by the society. The society has accepted this because our society is growing. हमारा growth हो रहा है. We are advancing. हम आगे जा रहे हैं. That is very, very important. Otherwise, when the development is stopped, जहाँ पर growth रुकता है, वहाँ पर कोई भी चीज़ रुक नहीं सकता है. या तो हम आगे जाएंगे या पीछे जाएंगे. जहाँ stagnation आएगा, वो society खत्म होने की तरफ, पीछे की तरफ जाती है. Okay? So this is the importance of freedom of expression. And in this regard, we were discussing Deepa Mehta, who is a filmmaker and who wanted to make a movie on the plight of the widows, and the shooting was to be done in Varanasi. And this permission was not given to her because it was considered that the movie will show the widows in bad light, their condition will be shown, and the movie will be released all over the world, and in this condition the image of the country will suffer a lot. And we want a kind of covering on all these things. We want to show the world that everything, whatever our culture, the elements of culture which are very, we can say, exploitative for some particular group, but we show to the world that these elements are accepted voluntarily by these groups. So if such movies are made, then they will tarnish the image. So she was not given permission for shooting in Varanasi. Now I will continue. So I am repeating this paragraph. Some years ago, Deepa Mehta, filmmaker, wanted to make a film about widows in Varanasi. It sought to explore the plight of widows, but there was a strong protest from a section of the polity who felt that it would show India in a very bad light, who felt it was being made to cater to foreign audience, who felt it would bring a bad name to the ancient town. So they refused to allow it to be made, and as a result it could not be made in Varanasi. So movie was made. The movie was Water. Okay, the name of the movie is Water. The movie was made, but it was not made in Varanasi. Actually, it was filmed in Sri Lanka. So the set was created like Varanasi, and the movie was made, the movie was released, but only thing is that it was not given permission to this to shoot the movie in Varanasi. Now we see that similarly the book Ramayana Retold by Aubrey Menon and the Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie were banned after protest from some sections of the society. So what we find that there are people who want to express themselves, and they express themselves by writing books, and there are many books who are which are banned because there is a protest against the content of the book by a particular group, because they consider that the content of the book is against someone who they give so much respect, and if this type of book is released, then the respect which is given to a particular person or particular character, that will be reduced, and people will start seeing them in a bad light. So these kinds of books are banned by the government. Satanic Verses was banned, which is written by Salman Rushdie, and then Ramayana Retold, which is written by Aubrey Menon, that was also banned. So banning is what? You are stopping this right to freedom of expression. They have right to freedom of expression. Let people know the idea. They will decide what is wrong, what is right. We are not supposed to give them only one view. If more than one view is present, then they must be exposed to all these views, and then they should decide which view is right or which view is wrong. If we are banning the book, then it means we are stopping the growth. So that should not be should not happen. The film The Last Temptation of Christ and the play Me Nathuram Godse Boltoy were also banned after protest. So these are the content. You just see the content, the name. From the name itself you can understand what is there in the book and which particular group is there which is against the book. The Ramayana Retold. In this book there must be something which is against the Hindu goddess like Rama and Sita and all. Okay. Then Satanic Verses. In this book there are some content is there which is against the Islamic religion. And then The Last Temptation of Christ. In this book there is something which is objectionable from the point of view of Christians, because it is about the last temptation of Christ. Then Me Nathuram Godse Boltoy. In this play, the act which was done by Nathuram Godse, the killing of Mahatma Gandhi, that was in a way justified. Boltoy, he is saying, Nathuram Godse is expressing his views. Why he killed Gandhi. So he is justifying himself. So these books or plays, they must be released. They should not be banned. Then only we will become aware of various views and ideas. and then only we can take a right decision. आप हमको एक ही रास्ता दिखाएंगे, उसी रास्ते पे हमें चलना है, दैट इज नॉट फ्रीडम. इन फ्रंट ऑफ अस देयर मस्ट बी सो मेनी पाथ्स, so many options, so many choices. We have to choose. That is freedom. हम चूज करेंगे कि कौन सही है कौन गलत है. आप नहीं हमारे लिए चूज करेंगे. आप मतलब the system, the political system, the social system. If the system is going to choose for us, then that is not freedom. Not only this, you must have, it's a very recent example, the movie Ram Leela of Sanjay Leela Bhansali. It was, there was a high level of protest from a particular community, the Rajput community, because they were of the opinion that this, in this movie, Padmavati, the queen, the Padmavati queen has been shown in bad light, and it will bring disrespect for the queen. But actually the story was not such. But there was protest because they wanted to ban the movie. At last the movie was not banned, and everything went peacefully. But so much problem was created because one group is of the view that some content is against their community or caste. So this is not the right thing. Let people know whatever is there. Let them know. They will decide what is right, what is wrong. Who are you to decide for us? Okay? So banning is an easy solution for the short term, since it meets the immediate demand, but is very harmful for the long term prospect. Banning is very easy. It is the under the power of the government. It can easily ban anything, any movie, any book, any play. Everything can be banned by the government. It's a very easy tool in the hand of government. But its effect is very harming. Its effect is very long-term effect. And one more thing, what happens that when one thing is banned, one book or one play or movie is banned, what happens that it becomes the nature of banning. Now the government becomes very frequent in banning, and this kind of activity of the government will certainly hamper the obstructing the freedom of expression, and in this way it is obstructing the growth of the individual as well as of the society. Is very harmful for the long-term prospect of freedom in a society, because once one begins to ban, then one develops a habit of banning. So it's not that एक बारी किसी चीज को ban कर दिया and it's all. No, ये एक habit होती है. It's a human nature कि हम एक काम किया और banning में the government will be successful because government has the power, it has the authority. So एक बार ban किया, then again banning will become habit, and when banning will become habit, it will destroy this freedom of expression. So it has a very long-term effect on the society. But does this mean that we should never ban? So should we never ban? Banning should not be there. After all, we do have censorship of films. In movies, you must be knowing there is a censorship board. Censorship board means all the movies have to go to that board, and the board view the movie. It gives its certification that movie is okay for release or not, and if some any kind of different certification is also given by the censor board. And many times what happens that the censor board asks the director to cut some parts of the movie because that seems to be objectionable. That is objectionable for a particular, that may be objectionable for a particular group or community. So the censor board asks that that part should be cut. They don't ask for a complete ban on the movie, but some parts are cut. And many times what happens when some parts are cut from the movie, the मेन जो कंटेंट है, जो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है, वही काट दिया जाता है. तो देन इट बिकम्स मीनिंगलेस for the director. Movies are what? That is freedom of expression. They are expressing themselves in whatever way they want, but there should not be something immoral or something which really bad for society. But this kind of activity like censorship and banning, all these are they should not become the habit of the society. It is not similar to banning. In banning, the whole thing is banned. But in censorship, what is done, that only a portion of film is banned and not the whole film. Okay, so this is also not correct, neither banning nor censorship. But we cannot say that banning should not be there. There are situations in which banning is required. There is need to ban something sometimes, but it should not be used frequently. That is the important thing. The question that is often debated, therefore, is when should one ban and when should one not? So, again the same problem is there. When we saw constraints are important, everyone knows, everyone accepts that constraints are important for freedom. But what constraints, which constraints are should be there, which constraints are justifiable, which constraints are reasonable? In the similar way, we are seeing banning, we cannot disapprove banning completely altogether. No, this cannot be done. Banning is sometimes banning becomes important, but when there should be ban, when there should not be ban. This is a very important question. Should one never ban? So these are always a topic of controversy, and there cannot be consensus on these questions, because every time new situations will be there, new conditions will be there, and in every new condition new decisions will be taken. We cannot stick to some rules कि ये यहाँ पर इस तरह में ban करना है, इस तरह में नहीं ban करना. That is not possible, because this is the thing ना, कि we are our subject matter is human being, which is not a matter. कोई वो non living matter नहीं है जिसके बारे में everything can be predicted. हम human being को study करते हैं, और इसकी किसी भी चीज़ को प्रेडिक्ट नहीं किया जा सकता है कि किस सिचुएशन में ये क्या करेगा. तो एवरीथिंग डिपेंड्स ऑन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट, ऑन द सिचुएशन. There is one example is there which is given in your textbook. In England, anyone who is employed to work for the royal household is constrained by contract from writing about the inner affairs of the household. Now just imagine these people who are working inside the royal household. Now they are working inside the royal household. They are knowing everything, every minute detail of the royal household, जिसके बारे में लोग जानना चाहते हैं, but they are not able to know anything about the royal household, because it's वेरी मतलब इसको बहुत रिस्पेक्ट दिया जाता है उनके बारे में. किसी भी तरह की चीज़ें जो हैं वो पब्लिश नहीं होती हैं, एंड पीपल आर वेरी ईगर टू नो देम, बट वी आर नॉट एबल टू नो. एंड व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, द workers, the employees which are employed inside the house, they are knowing every minute detail. So they have to sign a contract, and in this contract it is written that they will not publish anything about the inner affairs of the household, because if they start doing this, like after leaving the job, they start writing about the inner affairs of the household, then it will be very disrespectful for the royal family. So as the royal family is given such a prestigious position in the British society, in the British politics, that this restriction has been put on the staff of the royal household. So if such a person were to leave the employment, they would be unable to give an interview. They cannot appear for an interview also, because in interview they can reveal something which is undesirable. They would be unable to give an interview or write an article or author a book about the politics of the royal household. They cannot do all these things, and this has been done by a contract. So now if we have to decide, is this an unjustifiable constraint on the freedom of expression or justifiable? So this is highly controversial. It may appear that in order to preserve the sanctity or the respect of royal family, it is important to put this constraint. But on the other hand, it may also be said that it is the curtailment of freedom of expression. They must have right to express their views, express their ideas. People will, if people will become aware of so many things about the royal household, so it will not make any difference. So different views can be presented. We can justify it, we can we cannot justify it. So all these things are there. Constraints of different kind thus exist, and we are subject to them in different situations. So constraints will be there. Okay, different situations will be there. In different situations, different constraints will be there, and we have to see which constraints are reasonable and which constraints are not reasonable. While reflecting on such situation, we need to realize that when constraints are backed by organized social, religious or cultural authority, or by the might of the state, they restrict our freedom. So what we see when such constraints are coming from organized group, like the society is putting constraint, the polity, the government is putting constraint, the religious or cultural organization is putting constraint. So this is what? They are restricting our freedom. They restrict our freedom in ways that are difficult to fight against. And when such cultural group, a religious group and society is putting restriction on us, then an individual cannot fight against these restrictions, because the restrictions are coming from organized group. They are very organized, they are very powerful, and an individual cannot fight on its own against these restrictions. However, if we willingly or for the sake of pursuing our goals or ambition accept certain restrictions, our freedom is not similarly limited. So restrictions are put by these organized group. If restrictions are put by these organized group, then it will be very difficult for individual to go against these restrictions, to fight against these restrictions. Moreover, we see that if an individual is willingly accepting the constraints, then there is no curtailment of freedom. अगर हम अपनी मर्जी से कंट्रोल्स को एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं, तो इसको हम curtailment of freedom नहीं कहेंगे. Okay? In any case, if we are not coerced into accepting the condition, then we cannot claim that our freedom has been curtailed. अगर if हम पे coercion नहीं हो रहा है, force apply नहीं हो रहा है, no one is forcing, no one is applying force on us in order to accept some constraint, then in that case liberty will not be curtailed. Liberty will be curtailed only when we are forced to work according to the controls, to accept the controls. So when there is no use of force, we cannot say that our liberty is curtailed. We began by saying that freedom is the absence of external constraints. We have now come to realize that freedom embodies our capacity and our ability to make choices. So what is freedom? Freedom is our ability and our capacity to make choices. We must be able to make choices. ability is from inside, and we must have capacity to make choice. And when we make choices, we have to also to accept responsibility for our action and their consequences. So it is not that we have made the choice only. If we are making some choice, then we must be ready. We must be ready to accept the responsibility for our action. जो भी हमने decision लिया है, अब उसका जो भी consequence होगा, उसको हमें accept करने के लिए तैयार होना चाहिए. फ्रीडम का ये मतलब नहीं है कि हमें सिर्फ चूज करने का फ्रीडम है. आप चूज करिए, यू हैव द फ्रीडम ऑफ चॉइस, बट यू मस्ट एक्सेप्ट द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ योर एक्शन. यू मस्ट एक्सेप्ट whatever is the consequences of your actions. It is for this reason that most advocates of liberty and freedom maintain that children must be placed in the care of parents, because many times what happens, we make choices but we are not ready to accept the consequences. अगर consequences गलत हो जाते हैं तो फिर हम back होने लगते हैं. So in this situation, what is required? Children, they must be placed in the care of parents, because if we give them freedom to choose, they will choose, but they will not be ready to accept the consequences, and their choice may be wrong also, because they don't have that much experience. They are not having that much maturity, level of maturity. So our capacity to make the right choice, to assess in a reasoned manner available options and shoulder the responsibility of our action. So what is freedom? Freedom is we must have right to choose. We must have the capacity to assess in a reasoned manner available option. Whatever options are present in front of us, we must assess कि which option is good for us. और ये तभी होगा जब हमारा पर्सनालिटी का डेवलपमेंट प्रॉपर वे में हो रहा है. देन ओनली वी विल बी एबल टू टेक अ प्रॉपर डिसीजन. And first of all, make choices. Then how we make choices? We have so many options in front of us, and we choose any one of the options because we think that is the most suitable option for us. And we must be ready to take responsibility of our action. We must be ready to accept the consequences of our action. So this is how this is done. It will be possible only through education. When our mind is broadened, we are really educated, we are genuinely educated, then we will be able to make choices in a reasonable manner. जो भी options हमारे सामने होगा उसमें से किसको choose करना है. We can take the right decision only if we have education. Okay. So through education and cultivation of judgment, as much as it needs to be nurtured by limiting the authority of the state and society. So freedom is not just we must have the freedom to choose, but we must have the capacity to choose the right option. And not only this, we must be ready to face the consequences if we are taking decisions on our own. We must be ready to face the consequences. Many times we are afraid of the consequences, and because of this fear of consequences, we don't take independent decisions. We try to accept the whatever is going on, बस हम उसी को accept कर लेते हैं क्योंकि हमें independent decision लेने से डर लगता है, क्योंकि हमें उसके consequences से डर लगता है. So what is important कि हमारा education proper होना चाहिए. हमारी जो सोच है उसका जो दायरा है that should be broadened. And moreover ये तो है ही कि the state and the society को कम से कम limitations जो हैं वो हम पर डालने चाहिए. Then only in that that only provide the condition for the complete growth of the personality. So this is all about the chapter freedom, and now we will in the next class we will start a new chapter, that is equality.